Hey, how's it going? I'm gonna put down some of my thoughts. People have been telling me, oh, make a YouTube channel, something like that, Um, so my name is Teja Langada. I'm Indian and American, South Indian. I'm engineer, and you know, life is crazy to say the least, and it's not always been this crazy. I mean, there's always been crazy people. There's always been radicals. There's always been white supremacists. But what's going on now is literally, literally white Christian nationalism. It is like the Middle Ages 2.0 they're trying to bring on, they're trying to bring on the Christian church, the Catholic church, the Protestant church, and the most weird extreme versions of it, like obsession with fish, obsession with water, and water as a proxy for holy water. Oh, they ask, oh, I need some water. I need to go get some water. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. As a disqualifier. Oh, do you know where's the bathroom? Oh, you know where I can get water? Oh, what's this? I'm gonna treat you like you're a sales clerk, or you work for the building, or your staff. Based on the color of your skin, based on your perceived religion, based on your perceived, you know, anything. And that's the fundamental system of white supremacy for the last 500, 600 years. It stems all from Christianity. First, that was Catholic Christianity and the ability to, say, oh, you excommunicated, or the Spanish Inquisition, which was not just Spanish. It was, it was in Germany, it was in the UK, it was in France, it was in Italy, it was in all the Catholic countries or its offshoots. And the Catholic Inquisition existed actually for 400 years. And according to my research, what really set it off was the invasion of Genghis Khan, going from all the way through Asia and into Europe. And then the Mongol, yeah, I mean, the Mongol invasions, you know, were the precursor for the Ottomans, and the Ottoman empires, and the, other Muslim caliphates that continued after that. Um, yeah, but the reality is that for most of history, like Europe was actually a backwater. For a brief amount of time, the Roman Empire, was a place of market where Asian goods would be sold. Like I was thinking in my head, oh, how do you characterize the different parts of the country, or the world? I mean, Asia and China like is the manufacturing center of the hub of the world. India is like one of the most biodiverse places for um, for raw materials. Africa was a place for raw metals and precious metals and jewels. Um, the Spice Islands, like you think about Indonesia, Malaysia, um, now Singapore, uh, New Guinea, etc. The Straits of Malacca, where trade and commerce were controlled. Yeah, so like prior to colonization, the whole quote unquote old world was running very smoothly, and people were very rich, and many of these nations self-sufficient in their own cultures and their own designs. Um, and it was particularly Protestant Christianity. Like I mean, yeah, the Catholic religion had inflicted its own harms on so many hundreds of millions of peoples, indigenous peoples around the world. But at least they had a system of assimilation, or a religious synchronicity. Protestantism was the most extreme version of that. That said, well, you must be totally pure, or you don't exist to deserve to live, or you must be a slave. And all this was a Christianized, racialized caste system. You can say, oh, other parts of the world have caste systems too, but they were never that rigid. They were never so tied to religion. Maybe there were separations, but it wasn't exclusively based on religion and skin color and all this belief system based on religion and skin color. Those were inventions, those were creations, specifically by Christian Protestants and Catholics. Those are the foundation of every piece of colonization, slavery, genocide, apartheid that ever existed. And you have to understand that for to understand the world we exist in. And for a good brief amount of time, from World War II to maybe even 2016, we were on an upward trajectory to eliminating all of the religious biases, structures, backwards separations of sexuality, of love, of freedom, of music, of food, of cultural exchange, of rebuilding civilizations, cultures, languages. Everyone believed it. Everyone knew it. We were in the American progress. We were in the American dream. We were building it. We were creating it. We were shaping it. Everyone knows. I'm 31 years old, born in 93. All the good movies, Austin Powers, James Bond, the Beatles movies, Judd Apatow movies, Ben Stiller movies. I can go on forever about all the fucking movies that existed. These were American. These were squarely American. That showed the American experience about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And freedom. Freedom to speak, freedom to think, freedom to love, freedom to joke, freedom to live, to own, to sell, to buy, to be a joker, to be a smoker. There was fucking freedom. Not socialist freedom, not authoritarian freedom, freedom. Not Christian freedom, not any other religion freedom, freedom. And that meant, some people were a little bit poor, some were rich, but there was enough social mobility that there was freedom. Someone that could be poor can, a few days down the run, strike it rich. And someone very rich can actually have a terrible experience and, become poor the next day. There was social exchange, there was social mobility, and there was freedom. Bottom line. Everyone supported freedom. Everyone supported equality and justice and sexuality and freedom. And people lived. People lived to the fullest. People drank, they smoked. Sometimes they did hard drugs, which were terrible, but people lived. I mean, you could say these are cascading effects, year by year compounding of, China and Mexico joining World Trade Organization and, all those other, transnational trading organizations. But the end, um, um, it was, yeah, I mean, that was hubris, you can say. But really, the consequences wouldn't be so bad if cultural institutions, schools, Hollywood, music decided to Christianize either one sect or another, become woke in one form or another, and shoot itself in the leg and start only catering to white Anglo-Saxon Protestants as the main sector and Catholics as a smaller subsector. Yeah, I mean, Catholics will be different from each country. I mean, I feel South Americans, like specifically the South American continent, is actually very diverse, multilingual, multicultural, multi-ethnic. in a Spanish mind frame, and all Spain, because of the conquests of the Islamic empires of Genghis Khan, etc., etc. Like the Spanish and Portuguese, empires and uh, descendants all have Arab roots in one way or another. It's that synchronicity between so many religions and ethnicities that actually made the Iberian Peninsula one of the most tolerant and racially ethnic places on the planet once upon a time ago, and that did translate into the South American um, continent, and that of course causes its own problems, but ultimately gives a very free society. It was those kind of aspects that influenced American society as well. It was African Caribbeans, Hispanic Caribbeans, Indigenous Caribbeans, all the different mixtures that started giving America its flavor, its taste, its sexuality, its fun. But the more that white Christian nationalism of all forms, either in the socialist form or the totalitarian form, started informing all these institutions and sapping away the middle class. I mean, it goes all the way back. Like the very foundation of white supremacy, I've already spoken about the Spanish part, but there's the white Anglo-Saxon part. And the British were the largest colonizers on the planet. The British are fundamentally who they are because of the church, because of how they think, their isolation, and the reality is they're inbred. Because it's an island system, the United Kingdom and their rulers, and this was all, I mean, you can say a lot of rulers throughout history and European rulers in general, but especially UK as an island system, had monarchs that, uh, you know, inbred and reproduced and spread inbred genes to their populations. So, like, genetically, they were very weak. Like, already they in their northern latitudes had more trouble getting vitamins, and especially vitamin D and skin protection and anti-aging effects. And then with inbreeding they started building uh like terrible genetic traits, like mental illness, mental defect, uh hemophilia is like one of the biggest known genetic traits found in the UK. Like saying, oh, touch me and I'll bruise. Oh, I bruise like an onion. It's true. It's literally true because of how their culture was, how they, believed. And so the English were already extreme as a periphery of the religious, um, establishment of Europe. They became the most extreme, and they exported that to everywhere they went. In the form of apartheid, white supremacy, you know, racial stratification, segregation, extraction. We all know this. Everyone knows this. And and the worst version of that were the Puritans. And the Puritans like have sister like religions or sects, like they call mainline Protestants. They're all Protestants. The Puritans, as in the name states, were the most extreme, followed by the mainline Protestants. You can say Presbyterians, Lutherans, Baptists, etc. And they use these systems uh, to oppress, control, dominate, dehumanize, strip of dignity anyone that's not them, or force them into their religion, into their word, while constantly still treating them like garbage, like chattel, like animals. And that is the fundamental system of white supremacy. It is Christianity. You can't talk about white supremacy without eliminating Christianity from it. Christianity can be a force for good. Can be a force for good. It can be an informing part of an identity. But without the overarching sex, drugs, and rock and roll that liberates us, Christianity's fundamental nature is to oppress, dominate, and subdue. For those that say that they're priest class, or the ones that have the money, that own the church, that pay for the church, etc. Like the French, name of colonization was un roi, un foi, un roi. One king, one god, and something else. Like the real literal separation between Brazil and the rest of South America was saying it was a bull, papal statement that said, oh, Spain is allowed to control and dominate all indigenous on this side of the border, and Portugal is allowed to control and dominate this part of the border. So it's impossible to say that Christianity is not at fault. Christianity is the virus. You want to talk about the woke mind wars? It is hyper Christianity. It's hyper Calvinism. But I mean, and it's even worse than even the past. Because in the past, at least a lot of these civilizations had events for freedom and liberation. The premise of freedom and liberation, carnival, sexuality, actually came from those breaks. The more poorer classes, the more middle class people had those opportunities to drink, to fornicate, to have sex, to fuck. And you call those carnival or, Lent in their cultures. But more hyper Christianity, the more extreme it is, it's eliminating every piece of it that is not about submission, about control, about the destruction of freedom. And the double system of granting freedom to some, denial of freedom to others. And how does that relate to me? How does that relate to your life? I'm South Indian. I'm Telugu, 5'6", broadly bit, maybe 54-inch broad shoulders. I can squat about 300 on a good day. I can bench 200, 215 on a good day. Like, I'm strong. I'm resilient. I'm tough as fuck. I grew up doing taekwondo. I know about 5 different languages. Been to 50 different countries. I can outwit much, and I can take on much. But if the system is a monster, you must name that monster and fight it. You stand up for it every fucking time. Because we're human beings. We're men. We're women. We know who we are. Life is short. Life is precious. Yeah, I mean, I basically grew up with game because I was one of the only Indians in Montville, New Jersey. I grew up with Italians, Polish people, Jewish people, and yeah, I mean we constantly got in fights. Like it was rough. I would beat people up, they'd beat me up. Like it was fucking terrible sometimes. It was horrific. I stood up for myself all the time, but I had a unique American identity. That's who I am. I'm fundamentally that. And it's that stripping away of American identity from those people that are fundamentally American, that have been here for centuries, that have been here for decades, that have been here for, the good and the bad. It is us that defines America, not extremism, not religiosity. It is freedom. The freedom of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Of Sting, of Red Hot Chili Peppers, of Green Day. They say, fuck the machine. Fuck those systems that keep us down, that tell us how to think, break us down, and strip us of our humanity. So, I mean, I grew up loving and living almost any type of girl, you know? They love me. They always love me for this. They love me for my ability to connect, my ability to be me, despite any obstacle. Despite, despite any obstacle in building the empire that my family has built. And then pursuing and growing that stronger every single day. So, I mean, I grew up with it. I already knew with it. And, as I grew up, I live in San Jose, California. And I learned about formal game. Like you watch those, movies like Hitch. You watch those movies like Crazy Stupid Love. You know about Joey Tribbiani. You know How I Met Your Mother, Californication. Watch those. Watch those. They'll teach you everything because they're based on reality. They're very much based on. I mean, of course, there's embellishments. There's crazy shit that actually does not fly in real life, but the premises are absolutely fucking true. And of course, the guy I learned from the most is Todd V. And his book by, I guess Neil Strauss, The Game. But you have to take those premises and you have to apply them in a very realistic way that is based on your perception, your desires, the reality of the time. And you bob and you weave and you select. The more selective, not like, oh, I'm mean, oh, I'm so worthy, I'm arrogant, oh, I'm a elitist, blah blah blah, I'm a white Protestant, blah blah blah. No, no, it's none of that shit. It's about being a fucking man and choosing the girls that complement your manliness, your manhood, make you feel good, that make her feel good. And as long as you guys feel good, that's the only thing that fucking matters. That's the only thing we do it as a human. Life is about joy. We're past obligation. We're past duty and, oh, we're just reproducing or just holding society together. We are free human beings, and we're free to help each other. We're free to enjoy each other. We're free to love each other. You must have that mindset. We are free human beings, and we choose what we want. And because we choose what we want, we go after what we want. We go after what we want full heartedly. We put our hearts out and we express it and we love it and we joke about it and we feel it. I mean, some things are intuitive in how you go approach, about talking to a girl, seducing her, well, like, taking her home, all this shit. But ultimately, it is how much manliness you project, not the version of some masculinity based on religious beliefs, but pure masculinity is being yourself in your full heart and not letting anyone take that away from you. Or if they try, you get up back on your fucking feet. You get back on your fucking feet. I mean, in my life, it's been so fucking difficult. Like I've been through the worst shit you can imagine. I mean, you can say, "Oh, you're so fucking rich. Oh, you have this, you have that." But be, eh, in building one thing, I was deprived of other things, and there were severe deficiencies and deprivations. That I mean, it's only through grit and wit that I got through all this shit. And we build each fucking day. Yeah, and be as manly as you can. Don't depend squarely on money, on on building muscle, or or friends, or oh, how accepted you are. Just build yourself as a man, as a man you want to be, as a man you appreciate, as the man you aspire to be. That's the only thing that matters. The more you project that, the more you live that, the more you put in the hard work for that, everyone notices. The more you live, you inspire the world. I mean, you know that phrase like, oh, first they laugh at you, and then blah blah blah, and then you win. It's true. It's fucking true. I mean, you can say any civilization and anywhere, but the more manly you are, the more you make your life worth it. Because you only here once. We will all die. We will all be, skin and bones in the dirt, and that's it. There's no more. I mean, uh, some civilizations believe in reincarnation and bones and the nutrients and whatever. Say, hey, there could be another species, but how many times are we human? And the human that you're born now, you only you once in millennia. In the birth and death of this universe, you exist only once for how many given amount of time. So you make that life meaningful. All the tragedies of the past, present, and future should inform you to live as much as you can. Enjoy every day, savor every moment, love every woman as you should, and learn. Not learn to satisfy and someone else. Satisfy your own hunger, your own curiosity, your own desire. And the more you learn, the more you become part of the universe. You literally become part of the universe. Every molecule, every creature, every chemical reaction is information. The more you learn about that information, the more you are becoming dissolved into the universe, the more you become an actor of the universe. So I mean, yeah, I've been watching Todd V and all this game stuff for such a long time. He's giving us, hard and fast rules, and oh, we can use this line in particular. Which, yeah, some of these lines are pretty damn good. I love them. Um, you know, the ones about stories, like the story ones are super long and complicated and somewhat unnecessary. And somewhat take away from your masculine because oh you got to work so hard just to impress a girl and not be you, just being some robot. I mean formats and a way of thinking is perhaps better, and that is like you're a very very valuable man. How the other what do you call it pickup artists say is like oh imagine you have $1 million in your hand. Imagine if you're a king. Imagine if you're high status. Borrow some wealth from the future. Borrow some opportunity or whatever from the future. Yes, you can do that. Or you can just value yourself right now. Value yourself for who you are. Work on your mind, work on your body, work on your community. Build something. The more you build, the more everyone benefits, the more you are satisfied as a human being. Human beings are satisfied because we build. It is in our nature. We use our mind, we use our heart. We build something as a community. The more you do that, the more you're satisfied, and the more you can give, the more you can take, the more you can live. Yeah. So like I mean, when we go out, when we go to the bar, when we when we go to the club, when you talk walking around, express yourself, understand the situation, have situational awareness. Who's there in your favor? Who's not in your favor? Who can how can you tip the scale a little bit in this and that way? Have you tried to protect your interest? What kind of woman do you want? What woman do you specifically want? And hey, by talking to as many women as you can or want, you figure that shit out, and you become selecting. And then after you select, then we have the fun. Then you express your desires. Then you what do you call it? You can use misinterpretation. You can say you can give opening to escalate based on sexuality. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to summarize all of the things I've learned from Todd V, but you feel the format, the blueprint of a woman. That's a selectivity, and you go based on that. You escalate the amount of connection, interaction into sexuality. A frame, a a way of looking that says, I'm a strong sexual man and you're a strong sexual woman. We're confident, we're sexual, we're free, we will liberate all bonds and we could be together. That should be the thought process. And you do that slowly. You build trust. You earn freedom. You say, this is our world, you and me. And you will give me everything and I'll give you everything. I mean, giving is free. It costs nothing. And we can spend as much time together as we want, or we can walk away. There's nothing forcing us together. There's nothing us tearing us apart. So I mean, assess, use that cultural frame, and say what you want. Yeah, be the man you want to be, the man you always wanted to be. He's there. Let him live. I mean, by being as sexual as you want, or you know it depends on the situation. Depends on the situation. You understand the situation, you understand the format, you understand the blueprint of the situation, and you escalate based on that. And that's called calibration. But yeah, we're you could say we're tailoring our masculinity for the situation. You're the chameleon. I mean, what does James Bond do? Like he's like what, the pinnacle of man? And as you're a spy, that will tailor yourself for the situation. Be put in sticky situations, as they say, a sticky wicket, and you navigate your way through it with a direction, a goal, and you open and you close. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna make more of these videos, but this is a starting point. Have a good night.